MiniWarGamer Dave here from MiniWarGaming.com. Today, for you special exclusive members, I'm going to make some runes. These are the materials we're going to be using for this project. I'm going to start off with your masonite board. We're going to be cutting a base out of this. If you haven't gotten any masonite yet, go out and get some. It's good solid material that you can use for your bases, for your terrain pieces. It's inexpensive, it's easy to work with, and it's something you must do. Here I've got a piece of foam board. For those of you who don't know what foam board is, it is two pieces of thick paper with foam wedged in between, sandwiched together to make a stiff foam board. It's easy to cut, it's easy to use, and we're going to be using it to make the walls of our ruins. White PVA glue, X-Acto blade, some modeling sand, possibly some flock or static grass. I'll decide later, but have it handy just in case you want to use it. These are the three Reaper paints that we're going to be using: Linen White, Shadow Stone, and Pure Black. For those of you who have GW paints only, Chaos Black, Skull White, Codex Gray, just to paint up all the walls. Serrated bread knife, and the most crucial ingredient, day-old cold pizza. Gotta get the meat lovers. Let's get to it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've cut out a little base for myself. And I've used my utility knife, bevel up the edges to make it nice and curved, and I've created an abstract shape here. It's not exactly a rectangle or a circle. It has curved indents, and just to make it a little bit more interesting looking. Now it's time for me to use some of this pre-cut foam board. I'm going to proceed to cut some of the walls of the ruins and glue them onto my base. With this, you will definitely need to use your utility knife. It's very easy to cut through, extremely careful. Cut away from yourself as always. Now with these ruin walls, use your utility knife and slice up the edges to make it look like it's war-torn and has seen battle. And even go as far as to cut it right down to a small little point like that. So, as you can see, what I've done here is I've cut out a whole bunch of wall sections here that have been blasted apart by who knows what, and it makes for really good ruins. Now, these ruins aren't exactly finished. I'm going to switch this around a little. Put this on this side. There you go. And just as a comparison here, it's a good size for cover. Put your miniatures in here and have a good amount of cover. Okay, now that I have everything placed where I want it to go, proceed to glue all of your foam board to the base. We're going to use our white PVA glue to do that. So just let this sit and dry for a few minutes. Now I've decided to use some actual stones and pebbles that I've found just outside on the ground, and I'm going to sprinkle them throughout the ruins here, just to add a little bit of difficult terrain. Just add your white PVA glue to any area that you would like stones to be. Just going to spread around this PVA glue a little bit with the brush. Okay, so once that's all done, just start to place your stones. So once that's all done, grab your tub of sand, fill in the rest with your sand. Not only will it add texture, it'll add more realism. Just get rid of any of the excess. And just allow this to sit and dry until it is completely dry. And your next step here is to grab some of your pure black paint and start to base coat your walls. And the whole base and the rocks that you have just put down. Just make sure that you put a good layer of paint over all of the walls and over the entire base
and all the stones and sand. Idea here is to lock in all of those sand particles and stones. Put a nice base coat over the walls because we're going to be adding more colors to these just to make it look a little bit more authentic. We're not quite done yet. And if you happen to get black foam board like I have right now, it might be a little bit difficult to tell what areas you've painted already, but just do your best. On these areas right here, you can see that you might see a little bit of the base underneath through the black paint. That's fine. Don't worry about that, because that black, that's not going to show through the textures and colors that we add to it later on. So this is just the base coat. Make sure to coat everything. That's all you need to worry about at this stage of the game. So just let it sit and dry. The next step here is to use some of our shadowed stone or Codex gray and to go over the wall areas. We don't want a whole lot of paint on, don't want a whole lot on the brush here. Basically just trying to get the point across that yes, there's a little bit of gray on top of the black, still have a lot of the black showing through underneath. And of course we want to go over the stones also. It's interesting, yes I know, we're painting stones to make them look like stones. Doesn't really make sense, but because real stones with their natural colors don't exactly match our terrain pieces. I mean they could if you made them match, but 9 times out of 10 they don't match, they're off. Even though it's the natural stone color, there's something about it that's just different. So that's why we paint stones to make them look like stones. Okay, so once that is all done, get your pure white. This is the dry brushing step. And just go over stones. I want to make these stones really stick out. The white really helps them stick out. So once all the stones have been dry brushed, proceed to dry brush the edges of your walls, just to help them stick out a little bit more. So once that is all finished to your liking, our next step is to add the sand, and yes, also the flock. I am going to add some flock to this because if you think about it logically, if there was some ruins and they've been there for quite a while, you would have greenery growing in different areas. And just to pretty it up a little bit, let's not have it so bleak and boring. Watered down PVA glue. Just gonna paint that on. Make sure to get it all over the edges. That's incredibly important. Cover them all up. Don't leave anything out. And do this relatively fast so it doesn't dry on you. I'm going to start to add my special ingredients right away because it is starting to dry already. I'm going to start by sprinkling sand in those places that sand should go. And this is relatively random. Some of my fine turf. Add that in places. And of course, let us not forget static grass. I love using static grass. It adds realism, gives it more of a 3D effect, little tiny slivers of material. Important thing to remember here is to cover all of the edges so you don't see the black underneath your material here as much as possible, as much as you can help. And just proceed to paint on your watered down glue, finish off the rest of the areas. And just to make it more interesting, I'm going to add a little bit of watered down glue to some of the wall sections. Why would I do this? I want there to be moss growing. And there you have it, Wargamers. Battle ruins. Happy wargaming!